Awesome. Yeah. Hey, Bryce, really appreciate you doing this call, kind of just to figure out, what was your experience together, just to see what was your, previous experience and your previous situation, as well as what you were aiming for, and then what actually happened, as well as, who actually would be a good fit and should be the most interested to potentially work together because they're in the right position to achieve the same results that you did. So yeah, I guess I'm just wondering a little bit into the situation that you were before. Obviously, you already had a coaching business and it was doing quite well revenue wise. But where were you specifically in terms of closing rate, which is what I help people with?
I think the challenge with me was we could get a lot of leads, right? But it was just kind of felt random when people would sign up. So like if someone came from like a YouTube channel, Facebook channel, LinkedIn profile, like we have a lot of different lead sources, it would feel like every lead was kind of having a slightly different conversation with us. And it never
Mm,
really felt like we were able to like objection handle a lot of them. So it's just like, we would get to, 35, $40,000 a month, but it would just be like just sheer brute force, 3, 4 calls a day, maybe close, one out of five. If that, some days you close like 0 out of 5.
right.
Um, so that was the main thing when I was starting.
Okay. So it was a bit of inconsistent, right? It depended on the quality of the leads and where they were coming from, and there was perhaps no clear like structure on how you should run the call, regardless of who shows up, right?
It didn't really feel like I was in control of whether the person bought. Like, my
Mm,
closer would average out to be anywhere between like 15 to like some months like 25 percent, but that it just felt more of like the person would come on the phone trying to buy, or they wouldn't be trying to buy. And like if they weren't like, wanting to buy right away, it was hard for me to like objection handle or get them to like kind of want to do it.
mm, mm. Okay, makes sense. So, and why was that such a problem for you? Because I mean, you were doing quite well, averaging, I guess, 15, 20K up towards to 40K in the best months. So, a lot of people would say that's a pretty good milestone. So, why was that such a big problem for you?
Well, I mean, it's just inconsistency. It's hard to plan a life around that. Like for example, last year I had 2 months at like 60,000 in cash, right? But it's very hard to plan a life when the income is like so dependent on that, right? So I was always thinking it was like a marketing issue. It's like, okay, so let's just get more leads, more leads, more leads, until I started looking at some other people who are like closing and stuff, and it's just like they have less leads than me, but they're closing, 100,000, $150,000 per month with the lead flow I have right now. So it's like, oh, if I just get better at sales, like 30% or even 35%, my income's a lot higher.
Mm, okay, I see. So basically, without even having to change anything, automatically you'd be able to already close more people, so bring in more revenue, more steady revenue, and also know that exactly the problem wasn't closing, and it was if there was still a problem, it would be something else, right? So you could rule that out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So, because you did mention also that you did try in the past to get a closer on board, right?
Hmm.
So how
Yeah.
was that experience?
I mean, in the past, like we've had a number of closers, man. Like I had three closers that tried to get on like a year ago, right basically around this time, and they were just, they blew through like I think like 30 calls in total in the month of March last year. Then right around like I think it was either between like May or June, we got another closer, and he was doing good. Almost every month he closed between like 25 to like 35K in cash, but there was a lot of problems with like him as a closer, right? Whether like the Zoom room wouldn't work or technologically or processes weren't followed. And we
Hmm,
were using him as a part-time basis. So he was getting like 1 to 2 calls a day, but I didn't really trust him by sending him more calls or paying more money for calls because of the fact that, he no showed literally 11 of our sales calls. So then we kind of like tapered off and fizzled off with that. So I actually started going back and doing my own sales calls. So I think the first month I went back on my own sales calls was like back in November, started doing really well again. So now I realized, oh, as I'm talking to some of my other industry friends, the closer wasn't so good. I think that was
hmm,
a reflection of me not knowing how to coach like sales for my team members really well. So that's been the thing with the closer. So right now we're in the process of getting ready to bring on another closer, and we're going to do it correctly. So I think that's one of the things that we've been discussing that you're going to help me with really training them, making sure they understand exactly how to be onboarded, what actually, the lifestyle of a closer looks like, and making it a lot easier for it to do. I think that's gonna be like one thing that we kind of add over time is like, every single month we're paying you to kind of consult with either the closer or with like my setter team, so that, really easy.
Right. Yeah, I can see the value in that for sure. Because I mean, one thing is knowing how to close instinctively, right? Because you developed that and you've been speaking with strangers for a long time. Another thing is knowing like what exactly you're doing in the call that is creating and managing the sales. So learning how to control it yourself, and ultimately is passing that on to other people, right? So those are very big steps. And obviously, it would be a great idea to get a closer on board as we're planning it out now. But it does clearly, it does require some kind of system or a managing that maybe it's lacking, right, a little bit. So yeah, makes a lot of sense. So in terms
So
specifically of like what you're trying to achieve, right? Because we have had some results, but obviously we ideally will keep working so you can get even better. How was
mm,
like, what were you expecting or what were you hoping to achieve from the first moments we started working
mm.
together?
I think it was a mixture of like the control of being able to like control, like if I have 5 calls on the calendar, I'm going to close one, right, every single day, like no matter what. Like that's the kind of control I think I've been able to achieve while working with you. Also, I like that you've worked with a lot of other coaches in the past, especially like some really big ones. I mean, you were working with the coaches that do like $1 million a month, so just kind of having some insights into like what their sales team looks like. I mean, that's been pretty invaluable as well. Um, those are the two main things, like having more control over that, and then like having really having someone who's been with another, like a number of different industry coaches who are a little bit ahead of where I am right now to like where I want to go, and kind of seeing like what's been the difference between like them versus my sales. What are the lead quality? Is it a lead quality problem? Is it like a sales problem? Like where's that problem, that bottleneck for me has been like the biggest thing.
Got it. Basically understanding, well, having the security in your sales process, right? So you show up to the calls and you know you did everything you could, and then knowing how to improve the sales process so that you can grow to the next level, right?
Yeah, because I'm bringing on my family members into my businesses, right? So like for example, I have both an accounting firm and I have like this coaching business. But the coaching business itself, I needed to be able to like hit 60 grand a month consistently. Because I'm bringing in my dad, I'm bringing my mom, I have my brother, right? So it's kind of like we're all kind of dependent on this like income stream. But if it's like I know every single month I can hit 25, 35 grand a month, right? But if I want them to have an extra 10,000 a month of profit, I need to be able to kind of like make sure every month I can hit 40, 50, 60 without going up and then going back down.
Yeah, yeah, I can definitely understand that for sure. Having that consistency, so this time, we can have somebody come in that is trained and is managed on a daily basis and hit the targets, right, and continue the revenue. Makes sense. I guess I'm just wondering, like, I feel like we had a pretty good start in the beginning, and like, what exactly was your experience from the first week, and in terms of,
Mm.
let's say, numbers?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing for the first week was like when I went inside of your training portal, there was like a video on like objection handling. And the first thing was like uncovering smoke screens. I'm like, I forgot people give smoke screens. Like I think that it came
Yeah,
a point where I've done so many sales calls, they kind of start blurring together, and a lot of those basics were kind of like missing, right? Because as soon as someone would give an objection, I would just start like handling it and trying to like move, right? And it was like, oh crap, I forgot. I need to first understand if that's the real objection and then kind of move forward. So that was a big piece. Another thing is like some of the questions that you've had me kind of work through, right? With like stretching the goals and then really understanding like what's at stake. Having those questions were incredibly important, man. Like, because there was a number of calls where like they probably should not have closed, but because I was following the process a little bit better, it seemed like they kind of like opened up, and like even though there was no reason why they should have closed, they actually did close, right? And it was a $30,000 sales week. Like I think it was about like a week and a half after we started. It was like a $30,000 sales week. And then I think we collected like 25K in cash. That's all from like new clients. It's not like payment plans. So I was like, okay. And I know like probably about 3 of them probably should not have closed. For example, the first one we paid in full, it's just like the whole call she was talking about like, she did another program and she was kind of broke or whatever, right? But then when we got to it, she just put everything on like on a credit card because she's like, okay, man, we can do this thing. Another person, right? When I did like, it's called a temperature check is what you kind of teach. The lady's like, yeah, man, we don't have a lot of cash. So we were able to like work out a deal to where she's paying me like, I think it's like $500 a week until like the balance is paid off. Versus I probably would never have done like a weekly payment plan in the past. I didn't even know that was like a possibility. So
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that that would apply or would apply to a lot of situations, right? That people,
yeah,
instead of waiting another 30 days, you can just have the cash flow more upfront. Yeah, I'm super happy that I was able to, you know, help you with that, and especially the first week with 25K collected. So I'm super excited to see what we can do next, of course. I think also one of the biggest things that I was perhaps like able to open up for you was the idea of that the smoke screens, obviously, right? The idea that what it appears to be is not necessarily what it is, right? And so that opens a whole new door of opportunities because then you realize you look back. I remember one of our calls where you were thinking of like looking back at previous calls and realizing how much of those calls maybe you could have closed if you had the tools with the fear looping, for example, right?
dude, that's crazy. Like looking back now, like I was doing my numbers on Friday. It's just like all the people that I've ever closed, right? And like just like man, that person knowing what I know now, it could have paid in full. Or that person, man, that was a fear loop, right? I just didn't understand it was a fear loop. I thought they just didn't want to buy from me. I didn't realize,
Hmm.
oh, they're actually afraid. And then if I had my, current fear looping process and like structure in place, we probably could have closed a good portion out of those people. It's just like as soon as they would be like, oh, it's too much money, I would just immediately like either go for a payment plan or I would just be like, okay, come back when you're ready, kind of thing.
Hmm. Yeah, instead of maybe controlling more the process or trying to squeeze as much as you could from the situation, which does get the person to be more committed. So it's good for them as well.
Yeah, because I mean, I probably would have been able to scale a lot farther too, because as I'm kind of looking like this, people think that everything's like marketing related, but it's like if you can collect more cash in the sales call and you convert, anywhere between like 3 to 5% more, like your ROAS goes from like a 2.54 to like a 3 to 5x,
Hmm.
and those are numbers you need in order to like scale. So now I'm kind of like looking at this and seeing different numbers of other people inside the space, like based on their close rate and different metrics. It's like, oh, I could have been at 100,000 a month by now.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Where the
so
cash collected coming in kind of pays to acquire new clients as well, right?
because think about it, dude. If I can go and pay for enough leads, and I know I can control that, I can close 1 out of 3 every single time I get 3 leads, then I can pay more money for ads. And it's just like you just can scale up and up and up from there. But I've never had this ability to control that, so it was always risky to do advertising, like really
Right.
heavy advertising. So I think it's really like kind of unlocked the ability for me to be able to go. Because think about it, right? I had a $30,000 sales week. I don't need a 30,000 sales week every single week. If I have that three out of the month, that's already $90,000 in sales, right? And cash
Yeah.
was 25,000. So I mean, it's like 25 times three. It's about $75,000 a month. It's almost $1 million run rate.
Yeah. Finally hitting that 1 million run rate would be incredible for sure. Um, awesome, man. I mean, super happy to be providing this much value, and I'm not even close to done with starting with that for sure. That's my intention at least. So I guess I'm wondering like uh, when all goes well, right? When we do structure things and you're able to bring a closer in, so you can stop taking the calls entirely, or maybe progressively stop taking the calls. Like what kind of impact would that
Dude,
do for your life?
dude, that's gonna be fucking everything, man. Like, yeah, I think that's really gonna be everything. Cause like I remember last year when the last time I had a closer that was doing decently well, right? It was just like you can just go about living your life. Cause sometimes like you kind of feel chained to the desk, for lack of a
Mm.
better word, especially when the people don't show up to the calls, like it's a no-show.
Yeah.
Like I could have been like out. I've had to like cut work short because I had a call like at 12 o'clock and the person like cancels like 3 minutes beforehand. I've had it where it's like, it kind of ruins your mood if someone doesn't close or if you like have a bunch of close and you can't go make marketing content.
Hmm.
Um, so it feels like as soon as I can master these sales calls, like to even more of a degree than what I'm already like getting close to, and then I can actually finally be able to teach somebody based on you and me working together. Like you're helping teach them. I can actually go look at their calls too and say, hey, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, and be able to finally like build a real team. I think that, man, I'm gonna just be able to like walk around during the middle of the day while still making money coming in.
Yeah, that's the freedom that probably a lot of people starting out as coaches like ultimately want to achieve. Somebody in the back end delivering, somebody in the front end closing the calls and setting the calls, and
Yeah.
then yeah.
I forgot, dude. Do you remember? So one thing there was, I actually asked you to kind of do something extra for me, right? Where I sent you the text message of one client who was kind of feeling dejected, and then she was
Mhm.
saying, "I need to quit your program." So we actually like that used to happen like a not a lot, but like it would happen. And then you kind of gave me like a script or like a way to kind of like handle the conversation that we saved the client basically because she only paid 50% of the payment. You
Right.
remember that? Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
was pretty
that
cool
was great
because then
too.
like I just fear looped her basically the same thing that we've been practicing for the new salespeople. And then she's like,
Yeah.
okay, what I was saying was drastic. I'm sorry for saying that. I'm committed to this thing, and I didn't have to like lose the revenue like I would have in the past.
Yeah, yeah. And ultimately, even if you don't make more money, you're still, fulfilling on the promise, and that is going to generate word of mouth, and that ultimately that is what makes the X of the ads go much further because it's like the back end, like people talking about you. You don't see it in the numbers, but you see it because it's like actually not that big of a community, probably. The
Yeah.
internet. Yeah, man, super excited. Can't wait to see what's next for sure. Perhaps I should even build out something where it's like how to save people from refunding or from asking for a refund or how to, before it even happens. That could be
Dude,
something
that
that
could
we
be
could
cool,
look
man.
into.
If you can talk about how to do that, dude, that'd be crazy, man.
Yeah,
It's like, dude,
that looks sick.
that right there, man. I'm finding like everything's a sale, right? So it's making me a better coach. It's making me a little bit easier because it's like I just can identify whenever someone's feeling afraid and just like loop them.
Mhm,
Um, yeah, man.
definitely.
Yeah, if you could do that, like that'd be really cool. If you can just kind of, I probably by the next time do the testimonial, like, and we're at like sitting at 50 grand a month every month. I mean, yeah, dude, that could be easy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll put on my list already, so I can definitely get that done. Yeah, I mean, don't want to take too much of your time, but I guess finally, like, if there's somebody watching this video curious about like what it would be like to work with me and the experience, like, what would make somebody ready to be able to work with me and take full value or at least partial value from what I can do for them, and like, why do it now instead of, I don't know, waiting another 6 months or for the New Year's to do a New Year's resolution.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing would be sales consultation calls is the one thing that you're always doing. So your marketing approach might change. So you might do like Facebook, you might do LinkedIn, you might do like that's gonna change. But at the end of the day, if everyone is funneling to a call, you should probably get really good at doing those calls. So number one, you don't have to do as much work, your business is less expensive, and you're able to really hit those income level goals a lot faster. Um, and then if you're good at coaching, you're going to be able to actually like, the sales, you're going to get good at coaching. So everything kind of works better based off the sales. It's just, you got, most people don't really understand that. Everyone thinks it's a marketing problem, but it's really a sales problem. So it's like, if you want to make more money while working less, get better at the sales, work with a coach like Guido, then you don't have to go and spend $1 million in ads and break even. When instead, like you just spend like half the money on the ads, you're making 3 times as much, and you're able to grow your business like way faster.
Yeah, I can see that, and having those good habits from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Because it truly, we're seeing that it impacts everything. Like, I've even seen people handle objections in the appointment setting process before the call even happens, so that it makes it so much easier for the close to happen once they hop on. So,
Yeah.
and also we've seen like after the call, closing them properly, avoiding refunds, and using the fear loops to
Oh
get people
goodness,
to
dude.
really focus.
Yeah,
So
because dude, I'm having another flashback of like of all the people that have either like either dropped out of the program or like not paying or whatever. And it's just like, huh, if I could have called them and like fear looped them back in, that probably would have been extra like last year we did about 30,000 $40,000 in sales like kind of like unwound. Like after they already like signed the contract or whatever, and they just kind of like just fell off the face of the earth. I mean, that could be an extra $30,000 in my pocket, or even if I didn't reclose all of them, I mean, that's still $15,000 in cash. I mean,
right.
that's half a car payment. or not half a car, but half a car.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like a lot of possibilities for sure. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Really appreciate you sharing your perspective, Bryce. And yeah, if anybody that's watching this video, has anybody needs an accountant or a bookkeeper, or is somebody that looking to start something online, please contact Bryce, and he will connect you with someone, or will help you with that process, because well, he's the best in the market for sure, by a mile. Especially if I'm working with me, no, just by
Mhm.
himself. So yeah, thank you again, Bryce, and see you soon.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Man.